Heidi ho, everybody. Hello. It is Thursday coming upon evening. I hope everybody is having a wonderful Thursday as you get ready for your Friday and for your weekend. I hope it's going to be a nice weekend wherever you are. We've got sun. We've had sun all week, and this weekend we're going to have rain, but that's okay. Rain doesn't stop anybody around here. It's just a little wetness. We'll keep going on and keep doing stuff. But I hope everybody's having a good day. And as usual, I'm coming to talk about a subject. And usually with the blogs, like I say, I plan out stuff. I get ideas, stuff I want to talk about, stuff I see on TV that makes me think about different things that I might want to talk about to you, the folks out there in internet blog land and stuff, and all the people who come to my blog and come to the YouTube channel and all that sort of stuff. So, as usual, I'm thrilled that you guys even decided to stop and watch me talk and stuff. I find that an honor. But today I wanted to talk about a difference between vulnerability and oversharing. Because I think what might be happening, particularly because, as usual, I'm a black woman talking to black women, but, any woman could use this, but I'm definitely talking to black women as they kind of go out, some of us going out into the land of dating and interracial dating and stuff like that. Long-term relationships, marriage, all that sort of stuff. And what it versus being vulnerable with someone versus being oversharing. And what I think is happening with some black women, and what I've heard here or there, from people who have talked to me and asked me questions and all sorts of stuff, because I get questions from people all over the place and stuff, is that I think some women think oversharing is vulnerability, and it's not. And there's a distinct difference between being vulnerable and oversharing and giving too much information and started having a man back away from you because he has too much information besides instead of pull towards you because he feels compassion, wants to protect you, sees you as sensitive and feminine, and and stuff like that. Pulling towards you as a person with a woman, and not with strength as in can do everything, but with strength to overcome some things and stuff. But also a person who's learned something, and all these kind of positive qualities instead of these negative qualities of seeming bitter, needy, codependent, not able to solve your own problems, angry, and things like that, which, confused, and stuff like that, maybe dumb, and those sort of things that would have somebody who's probably a quality, who may be a quality person kind of pull back from you because of that and stuff. And the best example I can give, and I'm hoping to see if I can find for my blog a clip of this, and if I can, it would be great for you to see. But the best example I can give is I watch a show called Ready for Love, and it just comes on Hulu. They canceled it off of NBC, but it still comes on Hulu and stuff. And there are episodes of it every week, new episodes of it every week on Hulu. And there are 3 guys on there supposedly ready for love, and these women are trying to, have them fall in love with them. And there's one woman by the name of Alba. She is a Latina, and the gentleman Ernesto, he's a Latino man, and they and they have a real connection and stuff in this show, and and she's really, she was a ex beauty queen and all this stuff, so she's really beautiful and everything. So this week she had something she wanted to tell him about her life, and it's been maybe 3 or 4 weeks since this show started and stuff. So this is, these people they're going on big group dates, but they have sort of individual time with the guy and stuff, and this is maybe the third or fourth time she's had some time to sort of sit down and have individual time to sort of talk to him and get to know him and have him get to know her. And what she did this week, she had something really important, because it was his background and his beliefs, and stuff. One of them, which she knew, was that in his family, there was no such thing as divorce. And there are families like that. There are people like that, I'm not making a judgment call on whether you're in a family that doesn't believe. If you don't, that's fine, and stuff. And that's not really the point. But that his family didn't believe in divorce, and she had been married and divorced, and she felt like she needed to tell him something. Now, this is where we get to the part in being vulnerable. When it comes to being vulnerable and stuff, there's stuff maybe you have to tell people kind of early on, and stuff that you don't sort of keep to yourself, and you need to let them know early on. Some things can certainly stay a mystery, but there are some things you need to let people know early on. If you have, say for instance, you have children, you need to let people, doesn't mean you need to let them meet your children, but you need to let somebody know, hey, I've got children, because that's a big part of your life and stuff. And that's something that can make or break a relationship. I think those are good things to tell people, because if they're a person that doesn't really want a ready-made family, you need to know that from the jump, instead of 6 months down the line and then you say something and then they're like, well, I don't really want to deal with all that and stuff. Because believe me, as much as you think, oh, well, let him fall in love with me first and then I'll tell him all that, and then no, people will just be like, I'm out of here and stuff. I felt like I've been tricked, and usually that's what people feel like. I feel like I've been tricked. I, as a diabetic, always told guys up front I was a diabetic. I never held that in and stuff. And I've had people talk about, well, no, that stuff you shouldn't tell people on first dates. It's a downer. Listen, if that's a downer for you, hearing about me having diabetes, you don't have to hear all the ugly, background of me having diabetes and stuff. But if that's really a downer for you, me having diabetes, then we shouldn't date, because I'm not going to not be a diabetic. That's just how it is and stuff, and I don't have to go into, my sad sob stories, or I'm sick, or, I've got this, I've got that because of diabetes. I don't have to do all that, and start moaning and groaning and complaining about it. But you certainly need to know, because listen, if I fall out during the date, you need to know, hey, this chick is a diabetic, and all this stuff. I mean, let's just be for real and stuff. That's a health issue that people need to be aware of. No, we do not need to spend all day and all night talking about me being a type 1 diabetic, but you certainly need to know. So she goes on here and she's sitting with him on the back of a boat, and she says, I have something that I have to tell you. And so he looks a little like, oh my God, and stuff. And she's really nervous about telling him, because she's thinking that this is gonna, just totally, this could kill her. But the thing is about that is, it's true. You may tell somebody something really, really important and vital early on, and it may kill the relationship. That's okay. That's not the point. That's okay. You need to know that early on. It's not, I know it's sad and stuff, but 3 or 4 dates in and somebody decides, this thing I can't really live with and stuff, and maybe we need to go our separate ways, is way better than, like I say, 6, 7, 8 months into the relationship and then kind of popping it on somebody, and then they're like, oh yeah, no, I'm not trying to deal with that and stuff, So she tells him, and she knows what may happen, and she starts to talk about that she's been married before and stuff. And so, she said, and I know you don't believe in divorce and everything. And he says, yes, and stuff. And then she goes on and she says, she was married to someone, and she got pregnant, and the child was stillborn. And then she talks about, how upset and sad that was for her. But she doesn't go into a whole lot of detail about it and stuff. It's very odd. The way I'm seeing it is kind of the way she said it. It was a very short story with not a lot of detail. And And this, it was sad. And then she talks about how she found out that he was seeing another woman and stuff, which really broke her heart. And they decided to get a divorce. That's it. And he looks at her, and you could see kind of the tenderness come into his eyes and the compassion come into his eyes for what she had been through. That's what you want. That's vulnerability. Here's what could have happened if she had decided to do oversharing. Okay? Because he started to really feel for her. He took her into his arms. She started to cry a little bit. He held her. He talked about how much he really thought she was so strong and how she was such a wonderful woman. And he didn't make any judgment call about her divorce. Okay, he didn't say, well, she's divorced and I think that's just too much and I don't think I can date. No, he was just like, whatever. I mean, he just sort of went right over the divorce like she had never even said anything about that. He got into the story of her being a vulnerable woman. Okay, here's the other scenario of oversharing. I tell you about this thing about me being married. I go into how the marriage really sucked. It was a really horrible marriage. He was a horrible person. He was this, he was that, he wouldn't pick up his socks, and stuff. He'd leave. He cheated on me, and all this stuff. And I got pregnant and he wasn't there. And then you start moaning and groaning and complaining. Okay. And you start telling too much. What usually happens in the guy's mind is that, you know what? Instead of him feeling bad for you, he starts feeling like you're a bitcher. You're a complainer. You're bitter. You're still hung up on the guy, and stuff. That's why you don't say stuff like that. You don't start talking about your ex, like he's the worst thing ever. Now, he may have been the worst thing ever. That's certainly something that may be true. But if you start talking about him in the negative, really part of that negative light is going to sort of shine on you because the guy's thinking, well, why would you marry a guy like that? Why would you stay with him so long? Why would you stay with somebody that cheated on you? Is something wrong with you? If I do something wrong, are you going to just go off on me? Am I going to have to deal with the same thing, and stuff, being blamed and all this stuff, and it goes both ways. You can talk about the ex and how bad the ex is. You can talk about yourself and how bad you are and stuff. All that leads you to not looking vulnerable, which people think, oh, if I just open myself up and let people know that's wrong. No, that's not vulnerability. That's TMI. That's too much information and stuff. That's not vulnerable. Vulnerable gets him to feel compassion for you, to feel some care for you. TMI gets him to see you as burdensome. That's what that gets you and stuff, and how you're just a burden and how you're just going to be some work, and stuff. Because I don't care. I'm telling ladies here, once again, I know people are like, well, that, listen, men like women that are carefree. Even if you aren't carefree, you need to act carefree. Men like women who are carefree, especially carefree people, and stuff. People like people who are carefree. In the early stages of a relationship and stuff is not the time for you to tell all your dirt at the meet and greet. Okay, that's just not it. That's not the time for you to go into this long detail of who you were and who you are, and the ex being a dog and a bad baby daddy and owing child support and stuff, and how you've been struggling, or, all your struggles. And I know black women, and stuff, because I'm a black woman. So I know many black women are out there living as their struggle. So when they start telling the story of their life, they start telling the story of their struggle, really, and stuff. They start telling, because that's who they are. That's who they identify as their struggle. So when they start telling some guy the story of their life, they start off with their struggle and stuff. And for most guys that are kind of, regular guys, and guys that are just kind of like, hey, I'd like to date you and find out a little about you and stuff. They just go, oh yeah, no, that looks like a problem. And that looks like a problem I'm going to have to handle. That looks like a problem. Because for men, most stuff is a task. So if you present something as a problem, they're feeling like, oh my God, I got to solve it. And it's just like, no, 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 you don't want to present yourself as a problem. Okay? And stuff. So it's not to start off as the struggle. Okay? That's not what you want to do. And, you have decide to date for a while, and you're 6 months, 7 months, 8 months in. He's talking about future things. He's talking about getting engaged. He's talking about, you are married. At those points when you're starting to really get to know each other better and deeper, that's when you start telling maybe some of your past. But you don't tell too much, okay? You don't go into too many gory details and stuff. You don't talk too much about the ex and all that stuff. You don't do too much of that, and stuff. That is, you still sort of, as time goes on, you let more and more go. Part of it, too, is to protect you, because to tell those sorts of things that have happened to you that are maybe are really deep or maybe hurtful, you have to trust that the person isn't going to come back later and use that stuff against you, okay, and stuff. So that means you have to get to know them a little bit better. You still need a little mystery. Mystery is good. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. Mystery is a good thing. So you still need a little mystery. But that goes on later on. You do not do that you certainly don't do that on the first couple of dates. You certainly do not do it at the first meet and greet. Okay, please stop telling all your business at the meet and greet, and stuff. There is certain, there should be some kind of other subjects you can come up with to talk about, maybe your future plans or what you did at college, or, your dreams to write a book or whatever, and stuff, but not your, oh my God, my life has been this horrible struggle, and that's all I've ever had is the struggle, and stuff. And if your life has been a horrible struggle and whatever, then talk about the future life, just talk about something else. Do not start talking about it. And I know, because we want to tell somebody and we want them to know, and you think that's going to get him to feel sorry for you. But it doesn't. It just makes him see you as a burden. And what Alba did that was so great was she gave just enough information for the compassion in him to come out as a protective man, instead of too much information for him to start thinking that she was a bitter woman, because there was another woman he had some time with on that little group date that started talking about her ex-boyfriend, and the way she started talking about her ex-boyfriend was like he was a jerk, and yeah, I taught him everything he knows, and when she said, I taught him everything he knows, and he looked at her kind of funny, and then she said, well, yeah, everything he knows he got from me and stuff, and you could hear the bitterness in her voice, and you just saw his face sort of sink, because at that moment, whatever attraction I think he had to her, which I think he did, it just sort of went away when she showed that sort of bitter, mean side to herself. Listen, the worst thing you can be ever, pretty much as a person, but particularly as a woman, is mean. Nobody wants a mean woman. Nobody wants a mean woman. Nobody, okay? Nobody wants a mean woman. Okay, that's just not even close to attractive and stuff. And so she was trying to, I think she realized what she did, and then she tried to back it up and stuff, but it was too late. It was already out, and her attitude was already out with it and stuff. And so he was like, okay, well, I'm done. And so when it came the time to sort of, they have a time where they pick two women that they think maybe didn't do good, and then the guy goes down and chooses one of them to stay and one of them to leave. They picked a woman that really he had no chemistry with, hadn't had any time with and stuff. And this woman, the one who was acting mean, I figured maybe the woman he hadn't had any time or chemistry with, it seems, would be the one to go. But he actually sent the mean one away. Which, to tell you the truth, I can't say I was actually surprised. I was just like, wow. The thing was, and to him, she was so mean that he would have rather kept the woman that he had no chemistry with, no real time with, didn't really know after all this weeks of her being on the show, didn't really know her in any significant way, than keep the mean, bitter one. Okay, and stuff. Hey, I'm not saying people won't have things to be bitter about and stuff. And if you do, I suggest that you resolve those before you try to date somebody, because you cannot suppress that part of yourself. Okay, and stuff. And I also suggest that if you're going to, once again, if you're going to start talking or presenting yourself as vulnerable, because vulnerability means just presenting yourself as, as a person to have some compassion for, a person to have some feelings of softness, some feelings of gentleness. Vulnerability means, opening yourself up a little bit, and stuff. It doesn't mean telling all your business. Okay. That's not vulnerable. Okay. And at all. And when it comes to dating and being vulnerable, you don't want to put the hard shell on and put the wall up for the dude, and stuff. But he needs to earn his way, ladies. He needs to earn his way into gaining your trust. Okay, you don't just sort of throw that out and start giving him all your information about, whatever happened to you in your life. He needs to earn his way into getting your trust about, you revealing some things. And like I say, there's some things that, from the bat, you got to tell, okay? But you kind of need discernment to know what they are. Those are things that are kind of things you can't do nothing about. There's stuff that's just kind of, her telling about divorce was a good thing to do early. Because listen, this man, hey, this is what you need to know. It can maybe make or break it, but he needed to know and she needed to say it so she didn't look like she was trying to hide something from him. That's the difference, okay? And stuff. She didn't look like she was trying to hide something from him and stuff. Something that he could have easily found out, and stuff if he really wanted to. So that was the difference. And the difference when they're telling the story, as I say, is that she didn't give a lot of detail. You don't have to give a bunch of detail. You don't have to tell all the dirty, sludgy story. Okay, that's not necessary and stuff. And really telling the dirty, sludgy story usually just freaks a lot of people out. Ladies, listen, put yourself in a swap situation where you go out on a date with the guy. You're sitting there, you're on the first date, you're talking over the dinner table, and he tells you something about being divorced, and then he just goes on a rant about how much he hates his ex-wife and what a horrible, bitchy woman she was, and she was a gold digger, and she was this, and she cheated on me, and she was just terrible, or she was fat, and she was ugly, or whatever, and he just goes on a rant. Think how you would feel if you were the woman sitting across that table. If it was me, I would be like, oh, excuse me, I think I need to go. And I would pick up my stuff and I would leave. I don't want to date nobody like that, and stuff, because, it's obvious he hates her, and stuff. What would happen if you and him broke up? And everything. It's obvious he hasn't really gotten over. He's still bitter about it and stuff. Yeah, just put yourself in the opposite situation and think about what would happen if somebody started revealing too much to you too soon. Okay? and stuff. And what's the difference between that and a guy just sort of telling you a story about, well, our marriage didn't work out. We weren't the same people and stuff, unfortunately, she decided to have a relationship outside of the marriage and stuff, but if say he had kids, I've got my kids and I really love my kids and stuff. And they were the best thing to come out of that. How do you feel when he says that? How would you feel different if he just said that? If he didn't go into the whole detail of how she somehow finagled the house from under him or something, and stuff like that, oh, I see my kids and, and stuff, and we go on vacations together and all, I mean, what is the difference in that story or a story that just kind of gives you an overview of what happened, on an important event, besides the story of people going into how they hate the other person and what a horrible person they were, and and stuff like that. There's a difference, and there's a difference in whether you'd be like, okay, it's time for me to go, and you'd be like, oh yeah, well, I understand, and stuff. That's just, that's great. You're just, you're such a good dad and everything, and I'm just, you can feel yourself maybe a little more drawn to him because he revealed something, but he didn't reveal too much. Okay. And stuff, so, I mean, let's just get the difference between what is vulnerability regarding when you're first dating and what is oversharing, because you don't want to do that. You want to let someone, once again, feel compassion for you and be drawn to you and start maybe building a little trust between there, or them earning the trust for you to open up. But you don't want them thinking, oh, this is a burden. This is just another problem for me to try to solve and stuff. That's not going to draw anybody to you. And personally, if I was a woman and yeah, there was a man like that and he was talking about his baby mama and how she was trying to get, she was all trying to get my money and, she's trying, yeah, that would be like, oh yeah, bye. Okay. You couldn't quite blame somebody that when they start presenting themselves as struggle, and stuff. So you want to be vulnerable, but you want to still present yourself with an air of also being carefree. It matters and stuff. And that scenario was like the best scenario of what the difference between the two actually was. Okay, so that's the lesson for today. And I will talk to you all later. You all have a good rest of your Thursday. Enjoy yourselves, and I'll see you guys later. Okay, bye-bye.